Hello and welcome. My name is Trismegistus, in today's video, we're going to read through Friday Facts 374 Smarter Robots. Right, so yes, I'm not sure if there's anyone there, but just for the record, I'm going to read this through and comment as we go. But the intention is to chop it down for a YouTube video, so it might be a little weird how the format goes. Still not sure about streaming these live rather than just recording them and doing it. I'm not sure about that, but we will experiment as we go along. So, Friday Facts 374 Smarter Robots. Hello, today we are going to talk about some flying robot behaviour improvements. Some of the problems we fixed were reported countless times, so I hope that some people will appreciate it. Excuse me. Quality of life versus flashy features. I know that some of you are mainly looking forward to the new content, and that just quality of life improvements aren't the kind of thing that make people buy the game and get excited for. But I strongly believe that if you want to add content, mechanics, and systems to a game, which already isn't simple, there is always a risk of it just being too much. By doing quality of life improvements, we reduce the small hassles and annoyances, which effectively create an extra mental space to enjoy more in the game. It's like cleaning your room before getting a new toy. So, to make things clear, the reason that we make and present these kinds of changes is not because we don't want to make new flashy features, we just want the new stuff to be enjoyable without a burden of having too much to deal with. But don't worry, we will show something new next week. So this one is basically a kind of an improvement over the existing behaviour. They do talk about it in some depth, so I won't go into it explaining it, because I say they do a pretty good job of explaining what the problems are. But yeah, it's basically like a quality of life one. It's quite interesting that they decided to do this first. There is also a hint, I think, about a change to the game that's coming. It could be a reference to a mod though, so not sure about that, but there's a sort of a hint that there's of something that we might be getting in the expansion. Anyway, smarter robot tasks by Oxid. Logistic and construction robots have been in the game for a while, and at their core, they are fairly simple entities. A logistics robot, for example, may be told to go pick up an item from a chest and deliver it to another chest. So far, so good. But in Factorio, there usually is more than one item to be transferred. So what does the game do when tasked with transferring, say, 500 items from one box to another? Just to skip ahead to the diagram, that's basically what's going on here. So you've got a passive provider chest and a requester chest, and it's just a demonstration. So you've got bots coming in, transferring red belts from the passive provider to the requester chest. So the old way, in Factorio 1.1, the game keeps a list of all idle robots, including those hiding away in roboports. And when a task needs to be taken care of, it selects the nearest idle robot from that list. So, to transfer 500 items from a provider chest to a requester chest, the game would find the first idle robot closest to the provider chest and task it with the transfer. This robot now has a task, so it is removed from the list of idle robots. But we still have 499 other items to transfer, ignoring robot capacity bonus for simplicity. The logistic network simply repeats the previous steps for all of the other items, find the next closest idle robot, task it with transferring the next item, and so on until there is a robot for each 500 items in the box. So if you know anything about code, that's an array presumably, or a list feature. And basically it's just a list of all idle robots, and it has got location in it, so it is a bit smarter, but basically it just says, right, this job needs to be happening here. Where's the nearest idle robot? Assign it to the list, and then it goes through that list of idle robots, assigning enough idle robots to do all of those tasks. The problem with this strategy is that while the first few robots may be located in robots reasonably close to the provider chest, by the time we get to the last items, the network may have to reach for robots at the other end of the factory because there is no closer idle robot for the task. The end result is that the first batch of robots will arrive at the chest, take the item and deliver it to destination, and then recharge and go have a nap in a roboport. Lazy robots. Transferring a single item was all these robots were tasked with, and the remaining items have already been assigned to other robots. After that, a slow trickle of robots from faraway parts of the factory, will come in and transfer the remaining items. And it's exactly what's being shown here. And if you've ever played the game, particularly with large numbers of bots, large number of items, etc., you'll have seen this behaviour where the first bots dash in and do the first half of the job, and then they go and charge, and then other bots turn up from elsewhere, and you get that effect where they'll coming in a trickle basically, and it gets really annoying, particularly with something like a chest and a very large number of items, where you might be deconstructing that chest, and it'll basically take ages because, partly because the bots can only hold so much, but also bots that are coming from literally all the way across the factory are trying to get there, and that can cause other problems as well. But it's a well done example actually. The situation is similar for construction robots, and that can be especially apparent when using one's portable roboport. Say the player wants to remove a bunch of trees in the factory. A single personal roboport can only have 25 construction bots, so that's up to 25 trees that can be deconstructed using the player's personal robots. All remaining trees will be assigned to robots from the main logistics network, and the player will have to wait for them to arrive for the trees to be gone, even though the player's personal robots are right there with nothing better to do. Again, lazy bots. So basically, if you play the game, particularly the later stages of the game, and you'll have encountered this situation where you're right in the midst, you've got bots yourself, you ask it to deconstruct a load of stuff, and then it's other bots from the rest of the factory that come in and do most of the work, even though your personal robots are then idle. And it's because it's doing it on a full list basis, so it's basically going through all the list and saying, right, where's my next idle bot, assign it to do, and they just pull them in from further and further away. And one of the things you commonly find, the ways of working around this, is you do all the delete, that you then undo it once your personal bots have done it, you then redo it, you then undo it, you then redo it, you undo it, or you can go and sort of deconstruct your personal robot, the wider robot network, and basically that's how I tend to get around it. But it's just a real faff and a typical thing that for a quality of life feature improvement. The new way, choosing a robot for a task from only the first idle robot, clearly isn't the best strategy. Assigning a task to a robot that is currently busy but nearby may be a better choice, even if the new task may have to wait until the robot finishes its other tasks. This required two main changes to the logistic network code. The first change was to allow a robot to have multiple tasks assigned to them. Much of the code has been written with the assumption that a robot has exactly one job, but after some code refactor, robots now have a queue of tasks. So they'll basically have an array on them which has a task list, basically. Second, we need a way to select a robot for a task. Each task has a starting position. For example, a deconstruction order starts at the entity to be deconstructed. Until now, the selection process was simple, just select the idle robot closest to that point. So in this example, these bots that fly in later are the closest ones, but of course they're still further away. But now, when we can select a robot with one or more queued tasks, the process becomes a bit more complex. The new metric for robot selection is the arrival time. For an idle robot, its arrival time is simply the distance to the starting position divided by its speed. For a busy robot, we can look through its queue of tasks, figure out where and when the robot is going to end up when it's done, and then add to the flight time from there to the starting position of the new job. So if a robot's been given 5 jobs because it's now got a task list, it's going to move about doing those jobs. So where does it finish up, and where is it? How quickly could it get to the job that it would need to do? When selecting a robot for a task, we select the one that is going to arrive first, even if it has to take care of other things before that. It is worth pointing out that the arrival time calculation is only an estimate. For example, we simplify the effects of the recharging time. A keen-eyed player will no doubt notice situations where choosing a different robot Could have been a little bit more efficient, but in the big picture, it doesn't seem to be very noticeable. I guess because you could end up with thousands of bots, it averages out that, maybe if it would have been slightly better to do a different calculation, but it works because you've got a lot of bots, basically. Let's see how the new system handles our previous two examples. The initial batch of robots is tasked with transferring all the items, which results in them shuffling back and forth between the requester and the provider. So this is how you would always. This is what happens, particularly when you're you're new to the game. This is kind of what you expect to happen. So you sort of assign them a job, or you hit this requester chest, and you sort of assume that the nearest bots are going to come in and do back and forth. And if you've got very few bots, that's what they will do. But as I say, what actually happens at the moment is this effect, where they come in from all sorts of different parts of the factory. So this is obviously quicker overall, and also you're not assigning the bots that are doing the other transfers may be better off doing local transfers. So the net effect of this is going to be a lot more efficient for your entire factory, because it's going to say, right, well, it's only going to drag bots in from way, way far away. If it literally works out, well, there's so much needs transferring, we need lots more bots on the job, and therefore, effectively, you'll end up with if this is a continuous request, like it's a mining outpost, and you're doing robot mining, this will be, eventually it will just end up with enough bots to do the job continuously, and they'll basically just do a loop all the time. For deconstructing trees, each of the player's personal robots does more than just a single tree. Robots from the main network still come out to help, but this time it's because they can help get the whole job done faster. So again, this is what you expect to happen when you do a big deconstruction job. Your bots go out and do so, and then keep going, basically. And it's only because you've put you've only got 25 bots here. And it's only because you've done so many orders that it's more efficient for some bots to come in and do a bit of the job. But you notice that the job ends really quickly. I mean, I don't know if I can. If I open the two videos, open video, new tab. So you can actually sort of see that's a 15-second video, and it's an 11-second video. So it doesn't seem a lot, but obviously that depends on the trimming. But even just looking at the time of the video, and this includes all the charging. Look, so the actual job starts at 2 seconds and is finished by 7 seconds, or 8 seconds, call it. And in this one, it starts at 2 seconds, call it 1 second. You can just feel it's longer. So it would have finished by now in the other example. Right, and it's finished now. Well, it isn't really, because you've still got there you go, 14 seconds. So it's it's double the time, basically, or half the time, basically. I'd say it's obviously a weighted example. It's it's not going to work exactly like this every time, but yeah, that's a huge benefit, and just again, it's a perfect example of a quality of life improvement. Okay, let's just have a slab of tea. So yeah, really big fan of that, basically. Performance. Having a simple list of all busy robots and going through each time a new task comes in may work fine for small factories, but with several thousand robots flying everywhere, it can quickly become a UPS drain. To alleviate that, we implemented a different representation. Whenever a robot's queue of tasks is updated, it calculates its final position estimate, that is, its final position and the time at which it will finish. Each map chunk now stores a list of all busy robots that are estimated to finish on that chunk. So, when a robot updates its final position estimate, it registers itself in that chunk's list of robots. When searching for a robot for a particular task, the game now starts its search at the chunk where the robot's starting position is located and continues its search in an outward spiral. Storing busy robots on chunks and searching in a spiral improved the performance by a lot, and even factories with thousands of busy robots run well. So what this is basically saying is that they presumably sort of implemented this. They might have figured out this was going to be a problem to start with, but they basically implemented these changes and noticed, presumably, there was a huge UPS hit compared to the very simple version that they had before. And so an improvement that they've made is basically to localize the search. So when it's doing this search routine, when there were, thousands and thousands of robots in a factory, it was still going through a big long list, and it's a more complicated calculation it's doing all the time. So what it's doing is it's getting the bots to do a local calculation and storing that locally, and then it can come in and just say, right, in this chunk, this area, have I got enough bots effectively to do the job, and just searching in that list. And it only then expands that list and therefore becomes a bigger array when it's, and it says, oh, well, I need 50 bots and I've only got 2. How quickly can I find more bots in local area? Cool. So, let's have another slab tea. I'm trying to leave gaps in. I was editing the last one. It was a bit of a pain because I'd sort of run on, as I usually do. And so I'm trying to think about, right, let's leave a little gap and that let me edit it down a bit better. Smarter Robot Other Things by Clonan. While playing and developing the expansion for the last 2 years, we have also accumulated a few more features and changes to make the robots feel smarter and work better. Roboport robot requests. There are some situations when you need to make sure some roboports always have robots to service tasks. For example, if you want a little resupply point with buffer chests, you want logistics robots around to quickly empty your trash and refill your supplies. It is quite annoying when all the materials are right there, but you are stuck waiting around because due to natural robot migratory patterns, the roboports in the area are quite empty. So basically, this is a little bit more of an edge case, I suppose. Although you can think of some places where, with a big factory, because the robots have to travel huge distances, you get this effect as well. But the sort of case, the example they're giving here is basically these buffer chests have got in them. They should have. I wish they turned alt on for this, but they've got stuff in them that you want, and you're running up here, and your logistics request says, right, bring me, 300 belts or whatever from the system, and they're sat in these chests. There's say 500 belts in there, for example, and what happens is that rather than robots being available in these roboports, it again does the search where it says, right, where's the nearest robot, which could be halfway across the factory, and that robot has to fly all the way over for you to do it. And one of the, I've had this happen quite a lot. And what you end up doing is like picking the stuff up in your chest manually anyway. It's often quicker to run in, pick up all the items in the chest, and have them go into your trash slot. And then you can wait for your trash to be emptied or not, sort of thing. So yeah, basically that's the sort of example they're giving. It could be solved with requester chests, inserters, circuit networks, and such, but we decided a smoother approach. You can now set logistic requests for roboports directly inside the robot GUI. Robots will be dispatched from other roboports to fulfill the request. Important to note, robots will not be taken from storage or provider chests. So what they're saying is, what they're saying basically is you can set a logistics request for the bots within a roboport. So you can basically tell it, right, I want to always have, as it's showing here, 100 logistics robots available in this chest. It's interesting that it has a big old list like this. I don't know if that means certain things, but because there's only 3 things that can go in a roboport, which are logistics robots, construction robots, and repair packs. Those are the only 3 things that can physically go in a roboport. So why have we got a big long list here? It could just be because that's how they've done it. But you can set a logistics request to anything, so you don't have to set. It's not like you have to go 50, 50, 50, 50 to fill them all up. You could just you can just go 600 350 is the maximum it can hold, or 600 repair packs. So you only need 3 slots. So it's interesting, and a hint of what might be a reason for that you can set bigger lists. And it sounds like these are fulfilled by robots moving to the RoboPort. What you're saying about the robots will not be taken from storage or provider chests, so it won't go and pick up a robot from a chest and put it in the actual RoboPort. It just means that bots will fly to that RoboPort and wait there. I'm assuming that it's more like a buffer system, because if it did that, it wouldn't solve a problem. Because if you think about it, if you set that as 100, and if it was to work like a requester chest, then 100 bots would sit there and never leave. You would always have 100 bots in that chest, because in a requester chest, only like inserters can take stuff out of them. The bots will never take stuff out of a requester chest. So it must work more like a buffer, where it says, right, well, my target is 100 assigned to this RoboPort, and so fill it up, but then the bots will do jobs. So they will, in this example, move stuff over to your inventory. I was also hoping that I thought this might have a little Easter egg or something, or like a little hint as to something that would be is coming as a new feature. But I can't see anything. We've just got circ. It's a weird list of stuff. I don't know who would have an actual thing like this, because it's got wooden power poles, loads of regular power poles, and all sorts of stuff you wouldn't normally carry at the same time. You wouldn't normally have both wooden and metal power poles, for example. But yeah, it's got nuclear power and all the various circuits and red wire. So I couldn't see anything sneakily new. I thought maybe that the Spidertron might be hinting at different icons for like the different types of Spidertron, but I'm pretty sure that's the normal Spidertron icon. So didn't appear to be any little sneaky Easter eggs in here. With this new feature, we can set all the RoboPorts near our resupply point to always have 100 logistic robots available. Once we arrive, our needs are serviced in record time, and afterwards you can see robots arriving to get the RoboPort back up to 100. So I wonder if I can do a timing comparison again like I did before. So if we open that video, so this video is 15 seconds long, and you can see all bots flying in from everywhere. Doesn't look like, it looks like they're emptying your trash as well in that example. And then this video is also 15 seconds long. Except they've done the job. So they've done the job by, crikey, 5 seconds, if that. And then this is just replenishing the robots. So wow, that's 3 times. Well, it's more than 3 times quicker. Get rid of those tabs. Another nice use of this is that we can use the RoboPort requests to remove certain robots from the network. Perchance we had some mod with higher quality worker robots, we can request the low quality ones and remove them with a filter inserter, over time removing the worst robots from circulation. Now, this I'm wondering is this a we're getting better robots in Space Age? There are obviously mods that have better robots. There aren't too many that actually do new, like higher level robots. They tend to do just increase the number of buffs that you can have to robots. There are some, obviously, with better robots. But yeah, this to me implies that we're getting like level 2 and maybe level 3 robots, meaning actually improved, better robots. You could also imagine, one of the things I've always said is you have like distracted robots and all these sorts of things. My hope, I think this is a bit far-fetched, but my hope is that you've got more automated ways of using military robots, because they're just completely pointless at the moment. I know some people do love them and use them, but just lasers is your wall. There's no using distractor robots and capsules and all this sort of stuff. It's all a bit pointless, the military robots, in my opinion. So I don't know if that is going that far, but it would also then explain, at the very least, say we get 3 levels of robots. So we get level 1, 2 and 3 construction robots, level 1, 2 and 3 logistics robots. Maybe we'll get advanced repair packs, but that at the very least is then 7 things that you might want to request in the chest here. So that explains maybe why this is a bigger list, that we're getting extra robots. You could imagine dual purpose robots as well, where they do both logistics and construction, multi-purpose robots. Maybe space robots as well. There's some special version of a space robot, since that's what we're doing. So that to me explains why this is a bigger list, but it could just be because, as I say, they're thinking about mods where the mod may have 10 levels of robots and different types of robots, and that then just allows modders to easily, the modders don't even have to do anything to extend that list. So it could just be a help for modders. But I say the way that's phrased, to me, that's a hint that we're getting level 2 robots and level 3 maybe in Space Age. The other problem with reading these through is that there's no way of doing the time. It's been a half an hour. Better robot charging heuristics. When a worker robot runs low on energy, they need to find a nearby robot to charge at, but they need to be a little bit smart about it. For instance, if they always choose the closest roboport, then you would get queues and traffic jams at some roboports while others are completely empty. For these smarts, we use quite a simple heuristic, factoring in not just how close the roboport is, but also how many robots are currently charging there. Typically, this worked well enough, but every so often you could encounter a little inconvenient situation where they are still bunching up on some roboports while ignoring others that are just a little bit further away. And this is the classic example. You put a load of roboports in, and they basically all try and charge at the first, 3 or 4. A couple finally get to the end, but these guys are just sat here waiting when you've got empty charging slots at the end. In some extreme cases, this can actually be quite a problem, as the robots waiting to charge still use energy for hovering, so lose more energy in a positive feedback loop where all robots who join the queue will fall to 0 energy while they are waiting their turn. Generally, though, the main problem here is that the player looks at the robot and thinks, these robots are so dumb. Not the end of the world, but we can do better. Surprisingly, in this case, the issue can be helped a lot by just a small improvement in the heuristic logic. When deciding which roboport to charge at, the robots crucially did not consider the current robots on the way to their roboport, only those already in the queue, and did not factor in how many free charging spots the roboport has open. By adding these 2 extra parameters into the equations, the distribution of roboports improves quite nicely. So what that's saying is basically, you see this sort of queue waiting here and here. I mean, those are actually waiting for this one and these ones are waiting for this one. That's all they're looking at. So the fact that there's loads of bots coming in, those aren't technically, I guess, in the queue. They only must get added to the list that is the queue once they've arrived and start waiting. And the other thing is that it's got 4 slots. So presumably it's just not, it doesn't factor that in. It doesn't say, well, there's 4 slots, 20 robots on the way. So 5, the queue would be 5 per slot. Whereas here it'd obviously be 0, basically. So instead of saying, right, well, if I travel a bit further, if I travel a bit further, I can wait at an empty bot, an empty one, rather than queue up one where there's already loads of bots and more incoming. And that's what's happening here, basically. So they've just factored in that there are 4 slots, and this is presumably these bots coming in are checking to say, right, well, I'm part of the queue, even though I'm miles away. So they then say, right, when they're doing the next one, they say, okay, well, there's 5 on the way, and there's 4 on the way, there's 3 on the way, there's 2 on the way, there's 1 on the way, there's none on the way, so I'll go to this one at the end. Now this next one, this next one is like something if you've ever built a big factory and it's gone round a lake, or in particular, if you've got a roboport network that goes right around a lake, where you've got a lake, say, is effectively a circle or a sphere, oval, and where it comes back again, is where you get the worst problem, because if you've then got the entire distance of the lake. So if you imagine there's a lake in the middle of this diagram, that's how you need to think about it. Mitigation for robot pathing over lakes. It has been a problem for a long time. The robots are pretty dumb when it comes to pathfinding and try to fly over areas that have no logistic network coverage. This is because for performance reasons we don't do any pathfinding at all. The robots just fly in a straight line to the job position. One major problem with this is the possibility of the robots getting stuck in an infinite loop. This is because they fly over an uncovered territory, a lake typically, run out of battery and return back to recharge and try again. Obviously they will never make it. There are some slight exceptions to that. If you've not done all the buffs to speed and stuff like that, speed is infinite, but if you buff the speed of the robots, then they might, you see in this example, they're not, if that's halfway, they might get enough speed boost that they would get halfway, and then they would make the decision basically to say, right, well, this is my closest robot port, I will fly across. But the speed buff gets very expensive very quickly, and it's usually not really worth doing it until you're in a mega base territory. This issue was notable enough and annoying enough for us that we really did want to come up with a fix. The solution we came to was a smart trick in the roboport selection when they run out of energy. Usually the robot just chooses one of the nearest roboports, which is fine for normal circumstances, but in this case leads to the robot turning completely around in failure. As I say, it gets there, says, getting to that point, isn't it? And saying, right, where's my nearest roboport? I need to charge, and it happens to be directly back again. So they just go back and forth and never make it. So we changed the selection logic so that the robots try to always charge at a roboport that is closer to the destination than the robot is. This means that even if the robot will potentially fly with lower energy for longer, it will always be able to make some progress towards the target and eventually complete their mission. So basically this is saying these bots get to this same point where they run out of charge, right? And instead of saying, right, where's my nearest roboport, they say instead, what was it? The roboport they want to charge at has to be closer to the destination than the robot is. So these are saying, right, where is a roboport that is closer to the destination than me? Go charge at that, go head towards that roboport. I think they're saying, like, with this not perfect thing, that this is, you still get this behavior where they're going all the way up here to charge. So they're going a huge distance, but of course eventually they will make it. And this is way sped up. That when they're in no charge mode, they're really slow. So the point with this is, I think one of the things with this is that in combination with these other changes of like smarter charging and better assignment of bots to the job, this also becomes less of a problem as well, because maybe if you've only got, say, 50 robots in your entire network, and this is your entire network, this is always going to be a problem. But this also usually arises, say you've deconstructed something over here, and it's doing this thing of, right, where are the idle bots, and just adding them into the list. If the idle bots are over here, then it'll assign them to the jobs at the moment. But if it does this smarter search, then it might find that actually bots up here are going to be free quicker, basically, and therefore they'll be assigned to the job. So this probably goes away a bit from that. And it says, what it's saying is that even if it does happen, they will usually be able to still make their way there. So you won't end up with that situation where you've done a construction job, and basically there's bots it's not happening because the bots that are meant to do it are just flying back and forth over the lake. It's not a perfect solution, but should hopefully help prevent the most egregious issues of this technical constraint. As always, let us know what you think in the usual places. So that's it for today. Oh, hello, Crazy Bacon here. And we got the bot isn't brain dead anymore. Yeah, so they've basically, I don't know when you joined, but they've done quite a lot of improvements to for the next, for the update. Basically, they've done quite a lot of improvements. One of the things I would say that is interesting about this is that they're not releasing these changes yet. So all of these changes sound like they're coming in this, with Space Age. I know they've said that they're basically free, basically, and I guess it's effectively, the reason I think is probably because it's like Factorio version 2.0 is effectively a new engine. It's like a proper full engine upgrade. Because if you think about it, why couldn't this just be added in now? It's a quality of life improvement. They've said they're going to do it for everybody, when it's done. So why not just introduce it now? To me, it suggests that they've kind of refactored the code enough that it's basically a new engine. They couldn't just sneak these features in because they've completely reworked it all. So I think there's quite a lot of these coming, is my impression. I say, I'm really happy with this type of thing because a lot of like this one in particular, the deconstructing trees, it's like this, it was always such a pain in the bum because I say the way I would work around it is I would, cancel the deconstruction orders, redo them, cancel them, redo. And you just sat there faffing around with, for no reason, basically. And so I really like this change in particular. I say this one with the big long list of things and the hint maybe that we're getting level 2 robots is also really great because one of the big limitations on Megabases is basically the bots and things like that because, even though you can do the bot speed, they're never quick enough, and they're having to travel such huge distances that you can't just usually cover your entire base in a logistics network and expect it to work. You kind of end up having to do like constrained logistics networks because particularly if you're doing like bot mining, that has to be an individual network because otherwise they'll try and fly bots in from your entire base and it's just becomes a nonsense. So it looks like a lot of these improvements will help out quite a lot there. I need this now. I doubt we're getting bot tier 2. Do you think? So I don't know if you saw that bit, but it could just be talking about mods that do it, but it's got this line here. Perchance we had some mod with higher quality worker robots. We can request the low quality ones and remove them with a filter inserter, over time removing the worst robots from circulation. So the way they've talked about version 2, as it were, the expansion, is that it is effectively a mod. So yeah, I think that means we are getting level 2 because it makes logistics way too easy. Yeah, what do they have? I don't know whether you've read the previous Factorio facts over about the improvement, but it sounds like they're trying to make it so that mega bases are easier, full stop. And I think people got a bit upset, maybe, about or confused, maybe, by the implication that like some of the sciences are going to be locked behind space science. But when you look at the actual post itself, what they're saying actually is rockets are become a really early tech. They're a blue science tech now. And although they're gating, Spidertron and those sorts of things on new planets, you're going to be able to get to them really quickly. And one of the things they did mention is making it easier to do bigger bases that would allow you to build lots of rockets and send them up to space platforms. And because the way they're talking about it, you're going to need a bigger base to do the expansion. So I think or it may not be that there are like level 2 logistics robots, but it might be that there's combined robots. It could be, logistics, construction combined robots, or something like that, that allows it to be better. Maybe it'll do something different, not just making them faster and stuff. Yeah, I mean, let's say it could be, one of the things I'm hoping for is that combat robots become viable. And what you can do is set this to be, a request for combat robots, and that they'll fly out and, attack biters and stuff like that. Particularly if we're getting all sorts of different new enemies and different types of enemies that, enemies that work in a different way and all that sort of stuff, whether they're, sea-based or air-based and that sort of thing. I think it'd be nice to have some more tools to play with. And I think maybe combat robots might be quite good to put in there. But yeah, so that's the Friday Facts. So it's a bit weird, but I need to do a little bit of a sign-off because I forgot to do it last time. So if you have been watching, I hope you enjoyed it. And if you've got any comments or thoughts, then please leave them in the comments section. I'll be back next week to read through the next Friday Facts. If you want to join me and speculate along, then you're more than welcome to. You can find me on Trismegistus on Twitch. Thanks for watching. Cheers. So it's a bit weird. I'm not sure about doing these as live reads anymore because when I was editing the video down, it was a bit strange and a bit long-winded, actually, to be honest with you. So I'm wondering if I might do them as a just recorded video, basically, because it is a bit strange to do. Looks like the Factorio dev doesn't like the just make a tier 2 version way of doing it. Yeah, so I mean, it's not guaranteed, and they may be talking about a mod when they're talking about this, but and there are mods that do add logistics versions, but I'm not saying we'll get level 15 robots. I just think that maybe there'll be a second tier of logistics bots, maybe, to make the job a little bit easier. But yeah, it could just be, referring to mods that exist already. Right then, I need to switch over, so I will put it on the Be Right Back screen, but it'll be just a quick pause so I can switch over to the game itself, load that up. Hang on 1 second. I'll still be here, just screen will go black for a minute. Where's the setting for that? Didn't think it was going through then. There we go. Right then, and this is the other part of this. I don't know how to do a nice smooth transition. Because basically, we're now going to flip into playing the actual game. Well, I say that. We're working on the blueprints. I did do a bit of fiddling about in the interim. We're still going to keep working on the expanding or remotely expanding defences. But what I mainly did is I set up the supply stations and tried to test them out. I've tried to... So what I've done, I've made like what I've called Defences Final thing. And basically what we got... Oh, they're not properly aligned. That's annoying. We've got the... So this is basically. This is the full drop-off station. And what I've done, I've split it into these two. They overlap, but I don't think this is quite how I should be doing it, because effectively the 4 stations that I've got in this part. Why are there only... Oh no, it's okay. Yeah, I'm not sure that's appropriate, because then I'd be having the landfill train turning up everywhere, and I don't think I actually want to do that. I think I need that to be separate from this. But what I mainly did was I worked on the drop-off, pick-up stations, the loading stations. So what we've got is 4 of them, so that I can place them as many as I need down over and over again. The blueprints do include the... I say the blueprints do? Have I got blueprints? Oh, there we go. Do include the trains themselves as well, and they're all colour-coded and stuff, so they're sort of final versions. But basically these have a little bit of a logic on them that says it's basically a very simple set of checks where it's basically going, is there enough fuel here? And are there enough to load up a train? And then the requester chests are all set to have more than a train's worth in. So basically, hopefully, and particularly with the improvements to the new bot system, which I wasn't anticipating, but hopefully this will keep enough stuff in it, so it'll do the thing where it loads up a train, but it's already got a bit left, and it just needs to sort of top it up before another train can come in. But that should allow me to have more trains than, I can have a queue of trains as well. And yeah, basically, this one is the normal one, I think. Yeah, so this is the normal, stocking up their walls, basically. So it's got the bits and pieces to make, to replace walls and requester chests and all that sort of stuff. This is the one that goes along with it, which is the artillery and ammo. And then the other two, this one is the landfill. And as I say, I think I need the... because at the moment, the drop-off for this and this are the same. And I think I just need to split up this from the other one, because I don't want tons of landfill turning up. And particularly the, track, the belts and the... miners and stuff. I don't need those going out unless I need to do some landfilling. So that needs to be separate, I think. And then this is the one that does the expansion stuff, so it's got all of the additional power piles and particularly the track in it and stuff like that. So I'll just quickly tweak this. So what I need is to duplicate this one, because this is all of it together, basically, just so that, those are probably the ones I plopped down first, basically, so when we start the remote expansion. But yeah, we basically need this one to just be the expansion, say. Oh, not export. And then this one to just be the landfill. But yeah, I'm just going to keep going with... So this is back to normal, basically. But if anyone wants to chat about the changes in the Friday Facts, I'm happy to keep that discussion going. But this is just the normal stream now. Right, so if I put that one down there. So we'll make this bottom one the landfill one, which means essentially that I can get rid of that part. We don't need this stuff. I left like the chests and the robot ports just to keep it anchored, basically. I'll keep some of the... Do I need the stations in, really? I probably don't, do I? Especially on this one, because I might just randomly put this down. Yeah, so if this is the landfill one... yeah. So redo that. Then this one should be the... I'll get rid of that. And what's that? That's Anthony Griffiths, apparently. But obviously not properly done the station names. Whoops. What are you called then? Oh dear. Why has it not picked up the station names? Okay. So, we want the green one. Yeah. So why has it not got the landfill? See, it's got strange train stop names on it. And then, in fact, maybe it's the other one that's wrong. Maybe it's that one that's wrong. Anyway, we'll come back to it in a second. Because it's expansion stuff I want to do first. So, what would you be? If you were blue, it would be that one. And what's that? So it's the orange one. Which is that one. Yeah. Probably would want that to be there. You know, normally. So I'm not fussed about having that one still there. So why is it not picked up the names? Oh. Changed up names, yeah. How bizarre. So let's go through those then. See if any of them haven't got names. So this would be the normal refill one. Wars unload. Artillery unload. Okay. Then this would be the expansion one. So we've got wars unload, expansion unload. And this would be the landfill one. Landfill unload. Cool. And then this is the full one. Landfill unload. Wars unload. Expansion unload. Artillery unload. Cool. So I don't know why those didn't have names on them. Oh, didn't mean to do that. So, what we need to do now then is essentially the system for expanding things. And what that means, because the idea of this is it's like progressive. So we've got to the point here where we would be beefing up an existing set of wars. Okay. What we then need is a system that allows us to... Because I think what I'm actually going to have here is just like a breakout point that's a special edition. And I'll just tie it up so that it works in terms of distance with the normal track. So I've aligned this to here. Okay. So, and this is where we would probably have to join back up again, just for easiness' sake. But basically we want to be able to come along here and just, I say, this will probably have to be the manual part of it, which is punch a hole in the wall and have the train connect up to this point here. And that effectively tells me where to start laying the normal track down. But yeah, I think I'm then going to need a separate sort of track system and stuff to allow me, and probably separate version of the walls to allow me to expand properly in a remote way that's nice and easy. So we'll have a version of the wall, of the corner, basically, like I did on the other one, where it was way too fancy, that has the track incorporated into it, so it's ready for expansion, essentially. But yeah, so this here, I essentially need to decide a point where I'm going to punch a hole and what the track looks like to do that. And I say the actual hole punching will have to be manual, I think. If I just use this corner as a sort of reference point, so we pop that down. So if it was coming out here, yeah, you see it overlaps with the... I ideally want it to avoid power lines. So where would it be? That'd work, wouldn't it? Yeah. So if we put this sort of line here, I have to think about the signals. And then, say we would have to manually sort of remove these bits for this first version. But what we can do is have it include, you know, gate, so that it's not completely defenseless. And then it's that one, isn't it? Am I gonna? We give it a couple of spaces, and then just sort of. Let me do the same here. We do a couple of spaces beyond the wall, and it sort of connects up. That seems very wide. I was watching some people play Starfield. I'm gonna, because I got Game Pass, so I've sort of preloaded Starfield, but looks like it's sort of a bit soulless. I think it's because it's like a I mean, it's difficult to tell, isn't it? Because the story is obviously going to take a long time to get through, but the story just seems like the Mass Effect thing of, you know, proteins and all that sort of stuff, which is just cheesy sci-fi, to be honest with you. People love Mass Effect, but I don't know, it's not. I don't think it's all that good a story, really. If you've read very much sci-fi, but so does it need? Should it be that though? Because it's left-hand drive, isn't it? So we would want trains coming that way. But if they're coming back, yeah, I suppose it's going to be a loop in the end, isn't it? So, you know, we don't want them going that way. We're perfectly happy if they just have to go round and round a loop. Yeah, they'll make their way round. That'll work. So, this is a special... Is that lined up properly? Sort of special edition, essentially. Yeah, that's lined up okay. To the system. Do I want a signal or two on it? I think I probably do, don't I? Just so that I'm not getting too big a gap with any trains coming through. Yeah, so this is a special extra bit that connects the roboports. Is it always at a corner? I suppose it would be, wouldn't it? But yeah, it all looked a bit sort of let's... They've also said they're improving this blueprints, and there was Exterminator's video I was watching that he pointed out, because there's like, you can't really edit blueprints properly in this. You can take stuff out, you know, so if I get rid of all of them and put them all back, I can do that, and I can manually go in and remove one or two bits and pieces. But once you've done that, you can't add things into blueprints without completely relaying the blueprint, re-blueprinting it and all that sort of stuff. So his thought was that that's what they've improved, which would be quite cool if we get a sort of a blueprint editor in the actual game. I want to take the power poles out and the lamps. I'll leave them there for the time being. So I could get rid of those, I think. So what does that look like? That looks like... Oh, I forgot to remove the chests. So take them out. And then we do want a bit of wall here. If I can find wall, there we go. Cool, so that's a little addition. It does make an assumption, I guess, that that's exactly where the wall is, and that might not be the case, but I think that's fair enough. You know, it's got a nice long piece here, so it could be a bit this way, a bit that way, for the connection to actually happen. I suppose from that point of view, it would be better if rather than a sort of long straight bit there, it was a long straight bit at the start. So in other words, if that was there, to give me even more room, does mean moving that up, which is a little annoying. Is that equal now? There we go. So the power bar's in the same place. Okay. Cool. So this is my extension point, basically. And it's like a one-off thing that I use to extend. If I decide I'm extending a wall in that direction, this is what I do use to start that process. And then we need to think about what the actual walls look like for this system, because I think, I don't know. The question basically, you know, I've always tended to prefer to have what you call defense in depth, basically, so multiple different types of turrets. I also always like having gun turrets. Obviously, flamers are the most effective, really, in reality. They have the lag thing where they can't quite shoot, but I always like to have gun turrets because so long as they've got ammo, they don't need any power. So these will shoot at anything. Whereas lasers, you've always got to have power. And if you've always got to have power, that means you've always got to have power in your base, basically. So if you have a brownout and you're only defended by lasers, you're undefended. Which, for short brownouts, is okay. For full blackouts, can be a problem. But it's also a problem if you do like a range extension for your artillery, because suddenly it'll start shooting at you know, willy-nilly. And if you've also had your power go out, they'll just come and eat your base. So I always like to have gun turrets available. I've also obviously set up a system for restocking both of those. So it's not like we've not got a nice available way of restocking the walls. The question is more around getting blueprints that really work and are tileable and stuff like that can be a bit of a pain. Essentially what we're talking about here is we would, you know, build this. It needs roboports on it then, doesn't it? Because that's not connected. Yeah, this needs, because I've extended it, it needs a roboport out here. Because that's too far away. Or would they build it? Is that what I want? I guess it is, because what would be the, if I take mine off? Yeah. They wouldn't actually build that other roboport. Because we could have it that, because if it was there, oh no, it wouldn't even build it there, would it? Okay. So, Okay. So we're gonna need... yeah, that'd be okay if that was there. But we're going to need another roboport. So that it's connected. Cool. Right, so we then build, the idea is that we then, I keep picking that one up. We then just build however far we want to do. What's the range of the artillery that might be a good example of? So if I put that on. So yeah, so that's the like edge of the artillery. So we would know that we have cleared out to that degree. So you could take one off. And then we would be building corner. And then another straight bit. Either that way around. Like that. And then we come along and we say, right, well, bots have built that all till now. So we come along and we want... let's just build the full one. And we would say build the first one. Oh, right, that's not aligned, is it? Why is that? Why is it reversed? Because I've flipped the blueprint around the wrong way. Because it is directional. Right, so that needs to be that way round. And then there we go. So we then build, you see, this wall here. At this station here. Oh, that's a point. This is the other end. Because there's no way. Because it's left-hand drive, the system I've done. So, although the bots would be able to build this, no train would be able to get here until it's a completed loop. Because there's no way for a train. If a train's on this side of the track, it can't get to this station without a, without a loop, basically. Because I think I already worked out, yeah, I can't easily loop back. We end up with something like that. But then, do I need that on both sides, really? Because effectively I'm inserting a roundabout, aren't I? And I could just have a piece of track, a roundabout basically. Temporary roundabout section. Not sure if you're still there, Crazy Bacon here, or if anyone else is watching, but I don't know if you are excited about the new expansion. I'm not sure I fully conveyed that last time when I was talking about the video, because I was a bit focused on getting it read and stuff, but it did re-excite me, basically. I sort of kind of realised, yeah, it's not a proper roundabout, is it? But, I was quite hyped, I think, for the... I am quite hyped for the expansion. So, is that work? I'm not sure I can turn the train round in this distance. Maybe do it there. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that'll work. So then I need to double that up. Yeah, I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. I think I'm still disappointed that it's a year off. That's quite a long time. Ow. What have I done wrong there? Oh no, that needs to go, doesn't it? So I can do that. So why are you there? Oh, of course, they're slightly different things, aren't they? So the actual... Yeah, the thing is there. That's why they're different. Yeah. So if I take that, sort of flip it over. No. Yeah, so that's perfectly symmetrical. But yeah, I'm sort of, really looking forward to it. And it's going to be quite fun to sort of learn what's going on. I don't know that... I did actually think, especially reading through this robots one, I mean, stuff like that, the quality of life is going to be great, but... And they, I mean, they know to do this, but I hope they don't tell us everything. I hope there's still a lot that's left, you know, to work out, to learn, to find, to discover, etc., etc. That, you know, they do sort of drop in, or just leave hints about, or sort of say, you know, not really explain how space platforms work, just say that they're there. Because I don't want them to sort of, you know, spoil it basically to that degree. I mean, you know, details are great, but, you know, particularly, I mean, maybe like the combat and stuff, leave it a bit more sort of open-ended, a bit more sort of, this is something you'll discover. So effectively I'm adding a roundabout in there, which is a bit dodgy. But it's self-contained within a block, and it would be easily sort of removable, I think. So, okay. But this then allows me to just use the same station without considering it being on that side of the track or this side of the track or what have you. So a train could then come up here, and I can also then build it, you know, section at a time sort of thing. In either direction, because if they're coming from the other way, which is a point, that doesn't work, does it? If I need another one of those for the other side, because it won't let me flip it. So if the track is... So if it's... The corner is that... You know, so it's... Oops. I forgot I hadn't clicked it. If it's like that, going around that way, oops, then this would allow me to, you know, if it's there, would allow me to extend that way, but not that way. So I need the flip version of this, but it won't let me flip it because it's got signals on. So what we're going to have to do is, if I make that clear, that's... Should we call this end, maybe? Or... Yeah, call that end. And then the other one we can think of as start. I suppose that Yeah. Maybe I would always start. I would actually always start at the other side. Because what I'm effectively creating is the whole thing is a big roundabout then. I'm just wondering if I do want that bit that goes across there, you see. Put my fan on. Weather's been bonkers in the UK just recently. So I actually had my heating on, and it's not even. Well, it's literally only just September, and I've got my heating on. Bonkers. Yeah, I think I need that bit basically just to cover possibility, because it's fine if they're coming this way, but I want trains to be able to leave no matter what, and to go round. So I think I need that little extension there. Which one is that? So I think I need this bit. No. 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 Start there maybe? Unfortunately, yeah, it creates a broken signal. Nuts. Oh, that's annoying. How far up would it have to be? It'd have to be up there. How very annoying. So. If I want sort of move this up to here, I'm going to put that down so I've got it. Oh, hello SR1. Maybe move the signal a bit, sir. Hi, by the way, and hello to you. Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the stream. I could do, and that would be an easy solution. However, what I've got is I'm trying to just have it as be an extension to that, basically. So I've already got that. And I could obviously move the signal there as well. But what I'm doing is these connect to a straight bit of track, which has the signals there. So, and this is my standard track system, so I'm trying to just keep everything standard. And also this is like a temporary thing. This is literally just, right, I've decided I want to expand my base in this direction, having, you know, left the walls for ages. We want a solar field that way. This is how we get out of the normal base. So it's probably better, I think, to just move this up, basically, because I've already worked out these bits and pieces. So we'll give that a go, but yeah, I might have to move the signal, which would be a little bit annoying. Right, so let's start this again. Let's take that one and see if we can have it work there. So it still needs to connect on this. But I don't... Well, let's have one straight bit of track. Keep it clean, got it. Yep. Welcome, by the way. Yeah, I say. I hope you're having a good day. I assume you're a Factorio player. Always like to ask sort of new chatters what their experience is of the game. So we would want that to be there. Because I mean, I could, you know, we could have it be a 90-degree bend again. Oh, I did it again. I don't know why I keep doing that. You know, so it could be a proper 90-degree bend. So, you know, ultimately it's fine. But we'll just see if we can get a diagonal to work for now. So let's take that out. So that, oops, that'll be sort of furthest we could get. And then if we copy that, what does that look like? Put it there, so we can get some power piles in. I've actually done all this already. I have another series that I'm doing called Aesthetic Factorio. I could probably show you the things. Because we're in creative mode at the moment. And this is the system I came up with before. And I kind of realised I was essentially I was doing Aesthetic Factorio in this, which is just meant to be a basic, blueprints. But as you can see, that's hugely complicated. I've got land. You can't really see it. Well, let's just plop it down. But this was the corner pieces, and the idea was that this is where I would extend out, and it's actually a single line train. But you see how it's like a lot of stuff, and this is based around flamers. So these are meant to be choke points for flamers, basically. I think it looks really cool, but that's not the point of this series. This is the normal system rather than the aesthetic system, but I'm going to transfer this over into my other series and work with it there, basically. Yeah, I play Space Expansion. Makes me feel stupid. I've not actually tried Space Expansion yet. I'm a bit weird in that way, in that I've got a lot of hours in the game, several thousand, and I never really, I didn't touch the expansions, the mods, the overhaul mods, until relatively recently. I did Factorio 2, and I've just done Bob's recently. Only Bob's though, not Angels as well. And it was partly, I actually tried Factorio 2 a while back and got annoyed with it, basically, because I don't know, it's sort of, I had a bit of a mindset change, essentially, where I kind of realised they're connected, aren't they? Yeah. I kind of realised, or how to put it, swing the other side, doesn't it, really, if we're doing that, that, how to phrase it, it's basically the types of overhaul mods, and why I'm so looking forward to the Factorio, expansion, basically, is that the thing I was worried about that I would find with expansions, there's a lot of, and this is really true with Bob's in particular, where it's just complexity for complexity's sake. It's not really like changing the game, as it were. So, Bob's, where you get, and this seems to be the same in a lot of overhaul mods, where you get, it doesn't just stop at express belts, it goes up, is it 4 more tiers or something in Bob's, 3 more tiers? And it does that with Factorio 2 as well. There's another 2 levels, I think, in that. And they do introduce other concepts like washing ores and electrolysis, so there are other bits. But say Bob's in particular, the series, I basically got to a point where it's like, well, I could just keep making level, 7 manufactories and level 8 manufactories, but it's like I can launch a rocket now. Let's just finish it off, sort of thing. And that's what I was sort of worried about with me trying expansions, in that I say it's just sort of complexities for complexity's sake. Okay, so that'll work a bit better, because that'll allow me to keep my straight bits and what have you. It might not work, might not be properly aligned with the wall, but we know we would have to be punching a hole out in the wall anyway, so we'll just work around it whenever we're doing, and it's just a temporary thing, really. Would it be properly connected from logistics? Yes, it would. Okay. So, what I was trying to do is make a flip version of that. But yeah, I tried Factorio 2 and actually streamed it, and just got really annoyed, basically, which is what I was worried about. But what I did is I came back to it, and essentially, well, I ended up messing the biters up completely. They were just completely inert. But I turned off the biters, and so it just became about the building. And I just, I found actually I quite enjoyed it then. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. And what we want is... Why does it feel like I replaced the wrong blueprint? Is that the same one? Yes, there we go. And what we want is a flip of this, but it won't let me flip it because it's got things on it, signals. And what we actually want to do, of course, is make sure this lines up properly with the straight rail. So if the straight rail was running that way round, so it's like that, and then this would be... Which side are you on? You must be on that side like that, because it's behind the rail. So we can take the robo ports out, because we'll get them for free. We take the signals out. SpaceX is kind of complex too. A lot of byproduct smelting, and of course other plants. Yeah, I watched. Don't know if you know Zisto, on YouTube. Play it through, and he's one of the reasons I particularly like Zisto. I mean, I like his humour, but he tends to do very heavily edited videos. So he'll do loads and loads of, work, and then just sort of effectively show you the highlights or show you the end result. And it was very clear that, he'd done, because I think he'd done it on stream, but he'd clearly done like hundreds of hours of, work basically, off stream, because he was just, and he, obviously made a joke of it, but it was just like, I've spent 200 hours designing this, now I'm just going to build it on in the thing. But yeah, it's I might give it a go. I don't know. It's probably a bit too much for me, certainly at the moment. My plan is to do Angels on its own, just to see what Angels is about. Because there's that whole thing of, Bob's Angels. I kind of want to see what each one is, rather than just sort of do both of them together. So, that would need to be... there. Okay, so the Roboport has to be on that side. It's on the bottom. Oh no, I haven't even got one there. Okay, that's fine. But if I put... Where are the... Okay, so we got signals there and there. Okay. So I can use the straight bit here. Yeah, I might give it a go. I mean, if the official expansion isn't going to be for a year, and that's, I'll be honest, I think that's them being a little bit optimistic. I don't think they'll do early access again for it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually, we get to October and they say, well, it'll be released in February, sort of thing. They are a bit perfectionist. Now, can I get this transfer over? So yeah, I'm sort of expecting a year plus for the expansion. So, given how big... if I put that there for reference... SpaceX is... I don't know if you feel like a year... Because I'd probably get... The other thing, I'd probably get bored. And I'd have to split up the series. I don't have a year's of streams, that is, so I normally do, well, at the moment I do one Factorio a week, so okay. I think that's all the signals it needs. So which bit is the actual blueprint? The actual blueprint is from there, isn't it? So it stops there. And it stops sort of there. So it's that part. Except maybe take that out. Yeah. Okay, so we will replace this. Except I already had it, didn't I? Start. No, I didn't. Dang. I hope that's something they approve as well, that you can't undo deletes like that. I've had a few occasions where I have perhaps regretted a snap delete button press. Okay, so what we've now got is a system essentially punching out of the blueprint. So let's do a pretend version of that. So we get rid of all of this. Oops. Well, yeah, let's have that loop in just so that I've got a way of turning around. But I don't think that's really in the spirit how I normally do things. So if we take that, we get rid of the RoboPort to make it super generic, and we call it turnaround. And we put that in there. Okay, so now we can get rid of this. I haven't played any other mods, but I'm pretty sure SpaceX is one of the hardest, if not the hardest, in my opinion. Don't know why I went straight into SpaceX after finishing the base game. That's, yeah. That is quite a leap, I believe. Say, I'm not pretending to be any sort of expert on the subject, but yeah, I think you've gone hardcore there, is my understanding. I think a lot of people start with others, but I think space. One of the things that I think SpaceX is probably the hardest from what I've seen. As I say, I've not played it myself, but I think the sort of difference in a sense is that it's like it is more complicated, like meaning like properly more complicated, whereas a lot of mods, so like C block and stuff like that, my understanding is they're not. I had this problem before. This is why I need to. This not joining up properly is why I need a proper set of expansion blueprints, basically. You know, that's not an expansion. Yeah, so blueprints that work, that are much easier to fit together and expand, basically. Like proper corners, rather than this trying to work out where everything goes. Because it's something to do with being, I think if I connect, no, that's wrong. Is that right? I did it over here. So it needs to be, oh, that's right, I have to delete this one. And then it should fit in. If I do that, there we go. So we would have a corner. And then we go back to straight. And so we don't mind that first laser overlaps. Right, so let's say that's the corner. We've got... Because the idea with this rail is this is the rail where I'm essentially resupplying. So it goes that way, isn't it? Apologies for the noise. It's stamping down a million items all at once. Is that right? It's a bit close, isn't it? But if we were there, say... Something like that. And the idea... I'm just trying to test it out quickly. The idea is that we've got... this, which allows us to punch a hole out, we plop it down, and then we work out which bits of infrastructure we need to get rid of. Which in this case is these. Probably leave that laser there actually. And obviously we would need to take those out so that trains can get through, because apparently they don't drive through walls. So it's a bit inconsiderate from. Ah, except of course that's the wrong way around, isn't it? That connection. Although I was going to put... Huh. What happened to the little... Did I... I moved this over and then didn't add in the extra bit, did I? No, I didn't. In fact, did I move it over? Have I just copied up? Because that meant to be that, isn't it? And this needs the extra little bit of track here, assuming it's going to work for me. There we go. And it's valid signals. Obviously, this is entire like exclusionary junction now, which is fine. But I mean, I could put in that connection, couldn't I? Turn it into a proper T junction. Which I think I've already got. How do you rotate blueprints like that? Do you mean... So... Do you mean literally just so... I've got a blueprint here. If I want to rotate it, I just hit R. So I've got obviously the blueprint in my cursor. So I'm holding any blueprint. Just hit the R key. And it'll do a 90-degree clockwise rotation. I'm sufficiently old with the game that they actually added in counterclockwise rotation. So if you hold down shift, then it'll rotate in a counterclockwise 90 degrees each time. So I'm sufficiently old that that's not part of my muscle memory. So if you see me like hammering away at the R key to rotate, it's just because in my head there is no counterclockwise rotation. So obviously 3... You know, if you want to turn it 90-degree counterclockwise, it's the equivalent of turning it 3 times clockwise. That makes any sense. The other thing you can do that they added, which is something I can remember, my poor old adult brain, is if you've got a blueprint that's directional or that you don't want to rotate, because rotational symmetry and... if you know the terminology, but it's like what do you call it? Mirror symmetry. So I don't know what I can't instantly do an example, but maybe when if you've got a circuit build or something. No, that wouldn't work. But basically, if you've got a build where direction matters, for example. Then if you rotate that, obviously the belts are going to go in the same direction, the opposite direction because you've rotated it. So the other option they've given us is flipping. So rather than rotate this, we can, if we want the belts still to come up and feed other machines on the other side, if you hit F, then it flips the blueprint, so mirror images it, and that just, say this is a mirror image now of this. There's also G rotation, and I know the difference, but I can't explain the difference. So if that's your normal one, there's clipping it as well, which is a G rotation, which that's not a very good example of that. So if I put that there, so if I copy and paste that, so if I rotate it, we've got the belts going the wrong direction, but also the machines are misaligned. You see how they've gone that direction? Will that work? So if I now flip it, then it's mirror image left to right, but if you glip it, then it's mirror image top to bottom. So you see how now the belts are the opposite way around, but also the machines are the opposite way around. So, you know, this is aligned with the top one square down, and that's 2 square downs. So you've basically got 2 types of mirror rotation, left and right, and top and bottom, which are flipping and glipping, everyone calls it, because F key for mirror, you know, left right mirror, G key for top bottom mirror, if that makes sense. Rotate between blueprints, I mean. It's faster to hit. Okay, I didn't know about flipping. Yeah, they introduced it a lot later. So in terms of scrolling between blueprints, if you just hit, say you've got a blueprint book, and it's got a bunch of blueprints in it. If this is what you mean, I'm not sure, but you can, if you hold down Shift, and if you've got a middle mouse key, middle mouse button, you know, the scroll wheel, basically. If you scroll up and down, it will go through the list of blueprints. So you see, that's the list of all the blueprints in it, hovering over it. You see you've got the start, end, turnaround. If I do down and down, that's the turnaround. And if I do up and up, then you can just scroll through the list of blueprints in the blueprint book. I don't actually, does it work? I've never even worked it out. No, so you can't do it if you've got them not in a book. You know, they're just there. You can't scroll through them in your inventory as such. Just like Control V. Yeah. Right, so I've added that on there, but I've not re-blueprinted it. Okay. What I was going to check, basically, I do have my... Because I've effectively turned it into a blueprint, haven't I? Blueprint. Turned it into a T-junction. So if we go in here, and then find a T-junction, see, that's basically what I've done. It's the same T-junction, so that's okay. We might as well, that's what we might as well do then, basically. So, I don't know why I did that, because I've got a T-junction. I didn't re-blueprint that, did I? Right, so this is the end one. And I should have right-clicked. The thing I thought, because they've mentioned there's blueprint improvements coming as well, but the thing I thought they might be tweaking is that when blueprints get above a certain size, they're really difficult to work with in terms of laying them down, because you have to try and do it from the map. But, you know, you can't, when you zoomed in, you can only see so much, basically. So, even though this is all covered by radar, you know, it goes into the radar view, and it makes big blueprints really difficult to work with. So I thought maybe it was that, but I say Xterm's idea that it's about editing blueprints, I think it's quite a good shout. Right, so do I want that? Oh, that's the old one, isn't it? This is the new one. So I guess if I just plop this over the top, because it's a lot more complicated, this junction. I don't really need that additional complexity. Because how many trains are coming out here? You know, one every blue moon, basically. But does that work then? So this allows trains to go in any direction. But yeah, flipping doesn't work for certain things, so it won't let you... I don't think I've got any chemical labs on me. So things like oil refineries, it won't let you flip. And the reason being that if you flipped it, you would be able to change the orientation of the inputs and outputs The same applies for chemical labs. I need to sort this out, don't I? It's a complete mess. Where would they be? They'd be there. Have I even got them on here? I have. Where are they? Yeah, so chemical labs as well you can't flip because that's a bad oh, that's a good example. So if you were to flip this, you can rotate it. So say it's part of a blueprint, you can rotate it and rotate it in the blueprint. Right. Let's make it a blueprint. So that's the blueprint. So you can rotate the blueprint. You can't flip the blueprint. Because that would allow you to change the orientation of the pipes. Because if you imagine this mirrored, and you've got, the standard thing is water and oil, heavy, light, petroleum. So if you flipped it, it would become water there, petroleum there, heavy, light, petroleum. And they don't want to do that. They want you to keep that orientation of pipes. It doesn't allow you to flip rail blueprints with signals on. You can flip them with just track, like I was doing before. But if you have... oh, you won't be able to tell. Because that's a rubbish blueprint for doing that. But so that's rotating, and obviously then I'm hitting F. I can't tell. And G. It's happy with the little running animation there. It's happy with you doing that, but as soon as you add a signal on, it doesn't let you. So, oops, if we do that and that, so we can rotate this. We can no longer flip and clip it. I don't know why that is. I thought it was to do with something that you could create, a bit like the oil and chemical plants, that you could create a situation where it's unviable, because obviously signals have to be on the right. But if you think about it, if this was flipped, so if that was then, so if that was flipped, it'd be essentially that. So that's the flipped version of that. Well, that's still a viable piece of rail. Yeah, because the signal is still on the right. The train's going in that direction. So I don't actually know why they don't let you flip it. But yeah, they don't let you flip rail if it's got signals or stations on it. But yeah, other than that, you're golden. Okay, so in our little test thing, we have discovered that this needs these adding on without signals, because I'm not bothered about any kind of throughput considerations. Now, is start? No, so I haven't done either of them. No, I have done start, I haven't done end. Okay. So it's that. So we've then got that one and that one. Yeah. Only I've put a radar on this one and I haven't on the other one. So get rid of that and that. That one's got a random. But yeah, the way to get around it is what I just did basically. Is that you lay the blueprint down delete all the signals. Let me do this start. I need to tweak it now. Delete all the signals. Make a good copy of it then, a blueprint of it then. Flip or glip that. Then add the signals back in. And that can be the tricky bit, the adding the signals back in. But what you can do is you can literally say, right, these are where the signals need to be. You know, you keep the original and say, right, there needs to be 2 there, so that's 2 there. There needs to be 2 there, so that's 2 there. And just go across and, like with this, you can literally run across and say, needs to be there. And the same here. It's a bit tedious at times, but yeah, you can get it to work. Okay, so those are my expansions, or expansion points, for where I have decided to expand a rail. So say, imagine we need a great big solar field, so we build those in, and then we look at that, and we build this as far out as the artillery would likely allow us. Put that in. Wait, that's the wrong way around, isn't it? I think I've done the straight bit. Should be that way around. No, the Roboport is before. I think that needs to change then in the blueprint. So, if that was... So that's the end one, which means the start one. I've got that, the Roboports are okay on the main line. This one will have to consider an exception, but this should be here. Because we want the straight bit to always be operating. The Roboports on that side, the behind side. Okay, so we need to redo it again. No, mind. Start. So we'll just have to check that they are both connected. Yeah. Okay. So basically these are wrong. And we want to use that one. This one would be here because it's about blueprint. So we do that. There we go. So you're now properly connected. And then do it like that. Missed. One more. No, it didn't work. Why didn't it work? Oh, it's because I'm connecting it to the wrong thing. Should be there. Okay, so this is my extension. It's a bit shorter than it should be because actually I don't know what where I've got a artillery piece here that it thinks this is the centre of. I don't know where that one is. Because there's one here, which is that point there. Where's the artillery piece here? Oh, of course, this. Artillery wagon. Cool. So the idea is to load a train, send it to a location, and it will build a safety box. Yeah, pretty much. So the idea is that I would be expanding under the cover of artillery. So I've got in my other blueprints, defense is simple, which builds very simple, wooden box level walls with gun turrets. So this is the first set of walls I would build. I've then got defense is complex. There's a whole set of upgrades and stuff. This was my original idea for the walls, but I don't think I'll be bringing that forward. Is that all that's got in it? Oh, it is. Okay, never mind that then. There's basically upgrades then. So you upgrade the boxes to requester chests and all sorts of stuff like that within those blueprints. And eventually you get to a point where you've got this infrastructure, basically. So how do you deal with water puddles in terms of blueprints? So it's an interesting term you've got there. Water puddles, the lakes, the big water patches, these ones. Well, I suppose that's not all that big, but these patches here. So the original walls would be built around the lakes appropriately. So they would end, for example, at the coastline. I would just use the coastline as a impassable barrier for the biters and work around that. And so the original version of the track, because this is my standard track system, it's just got roboports on it. So the idea would be, for example, if there's a wall there, then we would have I would put in a resupply station somewhere. Now, that's not a great example because that's diagonal. So what I try to do is to build things in boxes. So as boxes, rather. So I do have diagonal blueprints, but eventually I'd be trying to build it so that I've got effectively squares everywhere. And then I would be using these higher level blueprints to build in these resupply stations that would have the artillery on. And that then gives me a barrage, not a barrage, a sort of a cleared area every time that I can expand in. And because of how there is a risk that... Because what I would actually do if I was expanding, because artillery has double the range when you use... I haven't actually got one. When you use the manual targeting remote, is I would clear out further than that, so there would be a buffer, basically. What I would then do is punch a little hole in the walls manually, and I say this is just for expanding from the normal wall defense. We need something that works better, for longer expansion, basically. But basically, we then punch a hole out and we do this rail track, and as you see, it's got roboports all around it, but we can also put in a resupply station, expansion station in here, or we can put in basically the this station here, like that. So, for example, and that creates a little... So effectively the robots would build this in reality, but then I basically plop in these stations here, make a little break in the roboport network, so that they are separate networks. And then we need a system now where I can actually build up, build outwards in a much easier way, essentially. In terms of blueprints, I mean, there are swampy areas, or is that a SE thing? So there are no swampy areas in vanilla. What happens at the coast in vanilla is literally a hard edge. So there is never a situation where it has like, as you say, like shallow water effectively, or sort of shallow, swamp type area. That's I don't know if it's a SpaceX. Have you got alien biomes on? I'm not sure. It might well be a SpaceX thing, but if you've got the alien biomes mod on, that has like swamp type areas, and like beaches effectively, where it's like you can basically sort of run out into the water a short distance. There's like a shallow coastline. But I think that's a alien biomes thing rather than a SpaceX thing. But I don't know SpaceX well enough. It might well have those. But yes, so we would presumably end up with, because the idea, essentially, it's quite boring, but the idea is to end up with a square base. I mean, it'd be a rectangle, I suppose, but it's a square base, essentially. And then you can, if you think about it at a larger scale than I'm doing here, I would essentially have a square like that. And what I've also got as part of this, and it's one of the things one of the other blueprints I need to do. In fact, I sort of mocked something up here. Is basically have landfill builders. So there is a station specifically that drops off both landfill itself, but also the tools to make landfill building blueprints, essentially. So I need to blueprint something like this that will just build landfill. And what you do then, as you expand, I mean, whether I landfill entire lakes or not, I don't know, but if I want to build a square base, it will have to cut across water. But of course, there's patches of stone all over the shop, and you only need stone for like rail for purple science, and stone brick, which, you know, if you're using concrete or whatever, then sure, but it's for walls. And once you've done a certain level of military science, you don't really need to bother anymore. So basically, you can turn all your stone patches into just landfill makers. And the idea would be to have remote landfill makers, so that if they're making a land bridge there, for me to put a railway and a wall across or what have you, then it will just make landfill nice and close. But yeah, that's the sort of plan. And as I say, this bit is the bit where I punch out of the normal old school walls. And what we need now is a new version of this that says, right, well, if we're building it from scratch, what does it look like? What's an easier way of doing what we've just done for something that's scratch built? Can I get rid of that? Yeah. In other words, these corners don't want to be hugely, you know, huge great things like this. We want them to be fairly tight if we can. Now I have put a loggy bar on a radar. Why did I have that? I think I had that corner one because I don't know where. Because my new wall system will have, will we like account for the Roboport distances. So basically, I'm going to build a wall around this like this. So when I did this, I'm essentially going to use this as inspiration. But when I did this corner, in fact, we might as well have it plop down. Built this corner. You see, it's got these lines that allow me to connect up. Oh, I've not properly aligned them with the gate. Huh. It's just wrong anyway. But yeah, so basically the same idea, that a corner, for like the proper expandy base, needs to be a corner I can work with properly, which I think means making it a normal T-junction. Do I need, does it say... I don't really need all that sort of extra stuff. But yeah, what, what's the rail and that sort of thing? And the issue being, I guess... Oh, hello. How are we doing? Thank you. Let's have a slug of water, and I think. Because I suppose really, it should be a T-junction, shouldn't it? Because I might want to expand in either direction. Yeah, we might want to push the walls that way, push the walls that way. Okay. So does it have roboports on it? This is the question. Actually, that roboport would be there. Let's think this through, because they're like that, aren't they? Yeah. And then like that. Okay. So basically, if I was to have guns on it, in fact, let's take those two out. This would be as far as I could take things. Which tends to suggest that actually I guess the other question I would have is if I rotate this, that lines up still. What about down here? I can't tell, but okay. So it does work if it's rotated. But that tends to suggest actually this shouldn't be... I shouldn't have these on the corner, effectively. So, because I like to do the diagonal. I like to do the corners as diagonals because you get like a concentration effect. If you have this sort of corner, then any biters coming in at just the right angle, and if you've got really high evolution and you're using a lot of artillery, etc., then you'll have biters coming in, you know, all sorts of angles. And basically what happens is if you have a corner, you get less coverage of this. So biters coming in at this corner are only being hit by fewer lasers because this is pointing out effectively. So any biter coming in here, I mean the same is true sort of here, but if this is a great big line of lasers, if I'm coming in here, then I'm getting hit from all directions equally, and there's like a certain weight of fire happening. Whereas if I'm coming in at this angle, then there's quite a long period, and it's certainly long enough for heavy spitters to hit you. And what tends to happen is these can get damaged and destroyed, and you effectively then create a weak spot, a hole in your defences. So if you have at least a little bit of diagonal, you get a bit better weight of fire happening. You still have corner effects, but it's much reduced. Because if I'm coming in here, I'm going to get hit by this laser a lot quicker than I would, you know. It's sort of obvious when you really think about it, but I therefore like to have sort of proper corners. Diagonal corners, rather than square ones. But yeah, that's the maximum distance that a thing could be away. But it's not equal, is it? So if I do belt, so that's 5 bits of belt. So 5, 10, 15, 20. So that's 20 tiles away. And then that's 5, 10, 15. Oh, it's the same. 20. Okay. So, if we were to... Because we have to imagine that what we really want is to build this around rail coming out. But without actually building the rail coming out. So where would my next straight bit of rail be? So if I was building that there... So the next thing would be there, wouldn't it? And what about on this side? So it'd be there. But we wouldn't necessarily have those pieces. What if I put that in? Yeah. Oops. So that's like the perfect corner, but as I say, it's not quite hit by the thing. Is that maximum distance? Yeah. So, 2, 3. Okay. Or do we want turrets like that? So if that's on the edge, because they're then lined up with the track, and make use of the superior range of lasers. Because then I could just make sure there's a hole in whatever we build. There and there. And punch that back. So the range of these turrets is that signal. So to have impact... Okay. So we can have 2 rows of lasers, and the lasers will be hitting them from ever so slightly before, but then back. That row is hitting them at the same time as the guns are. That's good. I like that idea. Because we can use substations. Make sure everything's got power. That's slightly squiff, isn't it? But that's fine. Why is that slightly squiff? Okay, that's better. What I did wrong there, but I did do something wrong. So the question then is where we want to do the... Because that is the proper corner. So if we had a substation there, where would we want that to go to there? So if we had one there, it would connect to both. wouldn't work, would it? We'd have to have it... Let's do that again. So that will come down there. That's the perfect corner. I'll just put all of those in, apart from that one. See how far this covers. Because that one is powered. So this is where the power would stop. I could always put multiple substations in, it's not a problem, but I did want sort of 2 rows ideally of lasers. Where would that go to? So if I wanted it's a 45 degree, isn't it? So one of them there. What does that look like? Oops. So that's the... Wait, that's wrong. So B, that was there. So that's my corner point. Okay. Let's go 2, 2, 2. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Tidy all that up. So they're all powered. I don't think the turrets will be, will they? No. So perhaps we put one there and one there. Right, so that's the first indented one. And that gets us a lot more leeway. Or as I say, I don't have guns. Maybe. On the corners. Just extra lasers. What's the range of that? So that would provide coverage sort of up to there even. So you would get hit with some bullets coming that way. Okay. So it's before it does the 3 hours, so it's that one. No, it isn't, it's that one. So if guns just stop there, we can't have lasers there. So we can punch a hole there. Obviously we don't want random chests. We can have them possibly be like that. Don't know, it'll depend on tiling as well. So, what have I done there? So it's where it's the middle. Then there would be skirters. Obviously that needs to be powered at some point. Then we have double wall. And gate. So the rail can get out. So that part won't actually be part of the blueprint. The rail will literally just stop there, but it gives me a proper sense of where it needs to be. So if these turrets are here... Okay. Then we need, because that's now lined up with that, lined up with that. Then we need a diagonal wall. So, do one more to help out, and then diagonal walls generally have to be 3 deep or more deep, basically, to give the same level of protection, except I need that one as well, don't I? Because obviously if you're a fighter coming in here, you need to be able to see 2 bits of wall, so they have to be thicker. And then we're touching there, so actually we want to go one out that way. So I should be able to rotate it and then flip it, and it should be the same there then. Okay. And copy that. Is it going to connect? Is it going to connect? Is it going to connect? Yeah. Cool. So, my corner piece is all of this, I think. And where does it need to go to? It needs to have that one in as well, I think. Alright, so... or is it just the signals? So it's on that side. And that one, and that one. Yeah, I think I need to include that one in the blueprint. So, oops. I have to work out the repeat, aren't I? So, what would that be? I wonder if I could use the... So if you're there, and you're there, I think that's the same overlap, so be there. How many tiles is that overlapping each time? Can't tell. Let's use one of these. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. But 3 doesn't sound like it's going to be repeatable in the right way. So 1, 2, 3. So be there. So this is our new expandy corner. Is that right? So if it was that, it would be connecting there. We're getting mismatch with the turrets. Why is that? Why is that? Why is that not a nice rotation? So if we were popping that on there, why is there... Why? is 2 tiles out, isn't it? So, yeah, why is that? Let's work on the straight bit. Get the same thing there as well. So that would connect there. That wouldn't connect there, wouldn't it? Connect with the power poles. You see, I'm getting the chests not quite in the same place, basically. So the chests are being filled. In a sense, it doesn't matter, because all it's doing is adding in chests. Which, in the grand scheme of things, that's not exactly important. But I'm puzzled why that's happening. So that wouldn't ever be connected on that one, but... Why is that? Because that's not... It's because of this. Because if that's the block, then the block is that one, that one, that one, that one. Whoops, what happened there? Oh, I threw a blueprint on the floor. Weird. Okay. Well, that's realigned, so I don't know why the problem is there. No, that shouldn't be it. Why are you working? Okay, then. I guess it's the whole rail is 2 tiles issue going on. I suppose it's not going to matter really. But can't quite get my head around why that's a problem. But not a problem. Okay. Let us. Yeah, because it should be there and there. So it's there. Okay. So, these need requests for uranium arrow. We need radar. Okay. Because what I'm going to do with the straight bits is make sure that they... So, because effectively I'm building this around a rail system, is my current thinking. How's that going to work? Probably shouldn't have that last one on. Anyway, that's part of the problem. So see, so why is that one tile off? It should be there. It'll be this diagonal, I bet. Oh, I think it's because they're not... So that isn't there, basically. So I'm not actually... I've built a square, but it's not actually a square. It's like a offset square. So it really should be there. Or, you know, there and there. Okay, I think that's a reason. We'll have to see. Let's take that. Do that. Do that. Oh, I'll call that expansion corner. And then the idea would be that the straight bits have walls on them as well. So I need to put that back in, don't I? And the straight bits are... So effectively, rather than these, you know, corners and ends, you know, we've got these. So we switch out for just using the old system for the new system. And we build with this, or these. So that's a corner. And then we need the straight bit. No. Straight bit. Have walls on it as well. And that would be... And the only sort of constraint I'm making on myself is always having to do them in the same direction, basically. You know, that the robot... that's the wrong way around. Should be that way around. Because then this... Where is it? This connects in, is the idea. It's effectively kind of a workaround, because from what I was talking about earlier about the flipping and glipping. So, if I copy that down, what happens? Because that... That's the alignment point, basically. Or that's how it needs to end. Yeah, because we got all of that. Becomes that. This is how it needs to start. I think this is where we're going to find that the two don't quite match up, but we shall see. So let's take that bit and put it on there. And that bit. Put it on there. And then let's extend that bit. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 double. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 double. And then 1, 1, 1. Yeah, here you go, you see. See how we've got sort of a discontinuity, as it were. So what's actually happened there? Because that would be 1, 2, 3. So the issue is we've got 31 turrets. Okay. But if I take that, does it match? I don't mind if there's doubled up inserters. I think what it should be is that where I've got this like this and like this, it should actually be one of them. So this one should be like that. I think that might fix it. So then there and there. I'm wondering if that fixes it. We're wondering. Let's see, so that was the corner now. Take that round. Yeah, they match now. And they match there. Yeah, so that's the issue. Cool, that's good. Now, in which case, which would it be? It would be that one that's wrong. And copy up that. Right. Huh? No. Hang on. So I think it fixes it for that, but then it breaks it for this, doesn't it? Because it's 31. Because this always has to be the same one. Whoops. At the end. So this one needs to match that one, which it does. But then we want, not flipped, we want flipped one. But is it that one, or is it that one? Let's have a look. So this is the end point, isn't it? So this would be the one here. So that would be like that. And this would be the start point. So it'd be like that. So we would copy this down. Boop, 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 boop. And do this down. Boop, 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 boop. And then boop, boop. Boop, boop, boop. Wait, It's not worked, is it? No. Yeah, so because it's an odd number of turrets. So if that's our repeat, we get a match there. But we end up with a weirdness here. And it's because it's 31. Although really it should be 30, shouldn't it? Because we wouldn't have both of them on. So that would be like that. That would be like that. So it's fine there. It's just going to create some weirdness here. So I need to decide what I'm happy with. Could also look at, so these overlap by 3, didn't they? So it'll be 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's your weirdness going on as well, because we're now not directly behind a thing. But that's fine, it works. That is directly behind a thing, and it's also lined up with the power pole. I wonder if that's the issue at a fundamental level. That these are an uneven number apart. $14. Yes, there's 15 in a sort of set. And that's where it's coming from. Okay, that's not too bad a problem. But basically this is the middle one. So it's here that we want any kind of weirdness to happen, really. So we're doing that. We're doing that. Wait. What? Have I missed one? That's confusing. How have I now suddenly got perfect gaps? What? So that tile's perfectly there. That tile's perfectly there. What? I've done that. I've fixed it, but I don't know how. It works. Let's just leave it. It works. Okay, so does it tile with this? Because this would be a normal bit of straight road coming in, so it connects properly there. And then it's bound to connect properly here because it doesn't have the turret on the end. Cool. But just so that we don't end up with like a weird occurrence. Put that on there. Then we've always got an overlapping one. Awesome. These aren't connected though, are they? Because that's too far down. It doesn't connect. It only connects then at the corner. That's not great. Where would this need to be? Oh, literally one tile in. Brilliant. That's annoying. So we do that. So you would need to be in like that. So this needs to be one tile in. Hopefully I've not just accidentally horribly broken it. It's usually what happens when you do a one tile in correction. Okay, do these have requests on? Yes they do, okay. Okay. So, This becomes our straight rail blueprint. And this one we do want to snap. And we want it to be 62 wide. Oh, I did. Absolutely. We're going to negative. Oh, no, got that wrong somewhere. Oh, this has got 2 extra bits on it, isn't it? Yeah, so that should be 0. That becomes 60. Okay. So this is expansion corner. Okay. Do I want to do a full test? As much as I can with creative mode on. I suppose the other thing I could just check is that the rails still fit in. Where's the... They do, but power pole overlap, which I don't really care about. Excuse me. And these still cover the chests. Yes, they do. Cool. So, I'm just going to whack a blueprint of the whole thing on in case something goes disastrous. And we'll kind of fake test it again as much as we can. With creative mode on. So, the idea is that I would have built and expanded and upgraded, and we would have let's just base it around a gate. So we would have a gate, and they overlap like that, I think, don't they? Some straight rail. Need more. And then corners. I think it needs to be a bit bigger actually. So, but I've not laid these down with these blueprints, they're just there already. That'll do. So they're there already. And put the corners in. Expanded to include corners. And is that right? Yeah. No? Yeah. Because it's on tile. And then that one dies. I say, this is me having, as I say, expanded, so where did that connect on the other side? Was it? So the laser is one back. Broke the vision there. So the laser's there. So I have expanded it, and at some point I've put in a rail system to feed it with stuff. Which are based around what? How have I positioned that? I suppose it doesn't matter in a sense because I got to punch the hole out anyway, but that is a question. Because I would need the robo balls to be covered. So that's probably the primary focus. So it'd be there. And then apologies for the sound, it's a bit of a pain that it tries to play all of the sounds all at once. Will that fit in there? So if I put one there, has it got proper coverage on the robots? No, it hasn't. Well, that's a bit annoying, isn't it? So I do one there. It's too far over. So we may have a bit of a constraint on that front, but it's only because I put this too far away. So getting the first iteration of this in might be a bit of a pain in the bum, is what I'm basically saying. Because actually this needs to be slightly over. But then this is the stage where I'm actually building it. This is the pre-remote build, basically. So I'd have to work it through. Oh, why did I do that? I'd have to work it through. Why is that? Because it's the wrong one. It should be that one. Like that. So, does it work a bit better now? Try and zoom out so it's less loud. I only moved it 2 tiles. Why did I only move it 2 tiles over? I need to move it way more than that. It needs to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles further over. At the very least, so... Or 5 blobs with the rail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Something more like that. Yeah, so it fits in. So that's then your rail system. But the idea is that I've then got these expanders that let me build it more akin to... So I'm going to get disconnects basically, but that's fine. We'll just have to... So basically, you know, this would be the fully expanded rail, you know, one. These need, I mean, it's like these need breaking up into sections anyway, so you know, there's a lot of manual fiddling about to get it started. But I then come to these ones. Start with the start and not with the end, and pop that down so that we can work out. You see, it doesn't align there, but I say that's all part of the fun, isn't it? Eh? All part of the fun. 8:30. We're nearly there. We're nearly there. And yeah, this one would have to be all manually corrected. It's quite a good test, really, this thing, because it's how it would probably be in the real world. Yeah, so we'd have to put in, I mean, obviously they got an extra one there. You know, having to put in extra walls to sort of compensate. Maybe that goes. Power cable's not there. This is having used artillery to expand it. You know, this is all cleared out from biters, and we're just trying to get our exit points. Cool. And what we could then do, because although I've tied this up with a corner, it doesn't actually have to, given it's the punch out, what we really want to do is make sure this matches up with our sort of final wall thing. The one that's there. I'm going to say I'm just going to have to, you know, improvise this connection point. Because it could look like anything. I don't think there's any way of standardising that, because this rock, I say, like we had to do, we moved it, you know, 10 tiles over just to fit it in. And what we really want is to make sure that this works as an expandable system, really. So however many it would be down based on the artillery being there. XXX, don't know. Yeah, I've got these the wrong way around. But this is then the corner, which doesn't work because I've not corrected the blueprint properly. I forgot to redo it. So I do apologise for the exploding noise. So it's one in and one in. One in. One in. Right. So that should now work. I've got these the wrong way around. But there we go. Let's redo that. Does it connect now? Not if I haven't got the right blueprint selected. So pop that on. Yeah, so the turrets work fine. And then we put in these. To be sort of about the same sort of distance. Now, as I say, if I just randomly have this here, it would be the end one, wouldn't it? That one. So if I eventually find a corner, is it going to tie up, is the question I'm wondering. So, where are you? That's that one there. So that's there, but it's half a tile off, you see. When I have pushed it further out on either side, so that's not half a tile, half a rail blueprint. But is that going to matter? So if I'm, because this is, I should actually make this half. Shouldn't be the full thing, should it? But is it going to tile properly if I do that? So what I'm basically saying is that rather than have a full repeat of 60, it should be a repeat of would it be 30? But does it tile properly? So if it's that, looks like it. I mean, I'm not holding shift. Okay, so then I can make it as long again. There we go. I think I have to move this whole thing up. I've not got enough room. But if I put that there, then Oh, no, we've done a weirdness. It's not tiled properly, is it? Or is that because I already had something there? Yeah, no, it doubles up the things, doesn't it? Why is that? Why is that? Because that is ending up there. So, trouble it. If I made it 32, what happens? Don't think that tiles properly then. So, no, because the robot ports aren't aligned. Ah. Oops. Because that one needs to end because it's in front of that there. Oh, this is... I didn't... That matches with that one. But it doesn't match with that one. How did I get this to be all 2 by 2 by 2 by 2? Hurting my head, that is. Shouldn't it be... Why doesn't the 30 work? Because that jumps to there then. So 31 would work for the turrets. So that becomes that. And then would match there. But it doesn't work for the power poles and the thing. And it's the 2 into 1 problem. So what we really need is for this to be... Oh, no, 30. So that they work, and then we need some way of these boxes tiling. So when we plop down 1 and we do that, we don't end up with them all doubling up. How the heckins do I manage that though? Let's have a look at if it was... Oops. There. Alright. Because effectively that's becoming that. So what? Yeah, the problem is that that's not that, isn't it? Okay, how do we make that that? By moving that over. Where are we ending up here? Yeah, because that's now mismatched, isn't it? So what we effectively need, if I just cut that, copy all of that, do that, so we end up with one random one on its own, which I think I can live with, because then I'm not, at least not doubling up the boxes, which I suppose in the grand scheme of things it doesn't really matter, but it's a lot of extra boxes to add in for no particular benefit. I forgot to add the railing. Okay. So do you work now? Yes, you do. Okay. Well done, you. So, get rid of that, that. Get rid of this here, just so that we can relay in. And this would be, so we would be starting here and going, oh, of course, it's all going to be different. They've all got to be different, and you, eh? All got to be different. Bang. Oh, I think I deleted too much. No, that should be there. Yeah, so we get the occasional box that's on its own. But that's fine. Wouldn't anticipate having gates in this. Because the whole point is it's expanding under artillery, and we're not going out there and driving out and doing stuff. I would need to be putting radars in, but then this blueprint has a radar. Yeah, that has a radar in. So because these need to be broken up into logistic sections anyway, otherwise. Although I suppose now they've fixed it, in a year's time it won't matter. But we have this whole problem. Usually that if this is all one logistics network, then, as it was just explaining, if the only idle bot is up here, then it's got to fly all the way over, which for a mega base could be, somewhere over here. And then it's got to make it all the way over there just to refill an ammo slot. Okay, so that's the sort of expanding system, I think. And then how would further expansions happen? Further expansions would happen by... So I think we need a filler in a piece, don't we, really? Because the ultimate thing of this, really, and why it's got roboports on the rail rather than the other, is that actually I'd have to be deleting this. So we probably need a special deconstruction planner that excludes... so blacklists rail stuff. And big electric poles should be. And loggy. So that once we've got an expansion, we're done. So we probably need a sort of connector thing, but no, maybe not. But if I've... Why are you picking up the rail? Is it whitelist then? No, that's picking up the rail. Oh, I know. It's because for some reason they never really fixed this. You have to put curve rail on it. Even though you can't... Well, curve rail is an automated thing now. Don't know why they never fixed that. But yes, so that bit... That stuff, rather. So if we were wanting to do an expansion in this system, we would simply delete the bits we don't want. Bang. Would we? Is that the right way around? Because that's... Oh, we know the box is going to be wrong. That's there. So it would be that way round. doesn't work, does it? Because we've now got a blooming substation in the way. That should be a roboport in there. That should be a roboport in there. Because the roboport will fit there, not there. Okay, so we do need to fix that. Actually, let's just plop a infinity generator on. So everyone stops moaning about the power. So we would want to be able to put a roboport there. Does that have... Yeah, we would want to be able to put roboport there. How do we power all of this other stuff? Could have one there. Bit risky, because that's easily within spitting range. But there doesn't fit. When I could just use multiple medium poles, couldn't I? I'll make sure we've got connections. Because we need medium, we need medium poles to the stations and stuff, so they are going to be there. Bit inelegant, but because then you see if they knock that one out, there's at least some coverage there. Knock that one out as well, there's still some coverage. They knock that one out, there's still some coverage. You know, say they knock that one out and that one out, they're still connected, so there's still some coverage. I mean, the other option is putting multiple on there. Same difference, really. Yeah, we'll do that one. So, what was I doing? So, effectively, that needs to go. And then... that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Okay. And we've then got a special deleter that allows us to come along and go... Wait, why have you not picked up there? There it is. What? Yeah, there you go. That allows us to... Wait a sec, we will probably delete on that side. So we would get rid of all of that. Well, we know this doesn't exist. And that's not there. And that's not there. So then how do we expand? So then how do we expand it from the expansion? How to expand the expansion? And its expandability of expandedness. Words. Because if we do special delete like that, then that lets us... Don't know why we've got a chain signal there. Hoping to keep it simple. We don't have... Oh, we do have a chain. Where are you then? Oh, it's there. Okay. Let's redo that then. I say this idea of being able to actually edit the blueprint, I think is one I hope they do put in. Yeah. Try that again then. Right, so we would be coming along, and we would delete all of what we had. We would line that up with the power poles. And we'll put that in. And then we put that in. Again, sorry. Obviously we would landfill around that. That's what I was hoping we would end off with, but I seem to have ended up fiddling. So we expand that. Hopefully that fits in there. Cool. And obviously, so we need to put, the actual stations in to have the trains. I would need to occasionally break the logistics network, which ironically I probably do at, at these corners somehow. Maybe that one. There you go. Let's say you then end up with undone chests, and maybe we need some way of fixing that. But you can just put in a roboport sufficiently close. Actually, that's probably a bad example, and maybe it would be that one I would get rid of. Right. Don't think any of these are going to line up properly on the... Because the basic problem is I need to be able to fill that chest, but to cover that with a roboport, it connects to the previous one. So, what reality probably would be is you swap out that to the other side. Oh, I've not got enough roboports to show it, but then, and then do that. And then that should be oh no, it's still lined up. Yeah. Or just take one out and we have a hole. You're never going to get a perfect system, but there you go. Right, so because I'm actually wondering about... I think I need these to be separate. It's a bit weird because the problem is if I built then the unloading station, because the unloading station for the ammo, I suppose, it kind of depends how far out I was going. And I say I would use... I'd have to just stay within the radius. Basically, so I say the manual range is twice as far. So I can use that to make sure this is all cleared out. And then, because the problem is basically if an artillery station gets plopped down, and it's going to have then, as part of this, it will then have a train turn up with loads of artillery shells that it puts in, and it's an artillery piece itself, because it's just an artillery wagon. And if these biters were in range of the station it built, the artillery piece it built, it would start firing them out as soon as the train turns up. And of course, if this is huge, or reasonably huge, then the bots may not have filled up all the turrets. But then I suppose I'll have the lasers, so there will be some coverage, so long as I've not managed to black myself out. The other thing I wanted to check quickly was what happens if I try and go in the other direction. So basically, having expanded it one thing here, because what we're going to end up with is like a series of like ladders or a ladder thing. It's almost getting into the territory of Nilhouse's city blocks, but if I then use this to, I want to try and expand, say, that way. Does that work, basically? So if I've got my deconstruction planner here, I find that, go up, I'm expanding that way. Say this is two edges. How would that work? And then we would put that there. So make sure we get some coverage. I'm not sure I've got that the right way around. Yes, I have. Okay. So we do... It's out here somewhere. That goes on there. This connects on here. Which I've gone way too far, haven't I? So there. That plops on there. They'll wake you up if it got to sleep. Why is that not matched? What have I done wrong? Oh. Well, it's not matched because I've not matched it up. Idiot. Must be getting towards the end of the stream. Let's try that again then. Basically, I deleted too much of that corner originally, didn't I? So that would actually connect to the thing. We go however many things out. Corner on. Put that on. Because I don't need those special start and end pieces now. Oh, let's take one out. So that we're not crashing into the lake. That connects on there. Done too many again. Is that right? I think that might be right. There we go. Pop that on there. Is that right? That feels like that's the wrong way. Oh no, because that's a top piece, isn't it? That doesn't matter. That's fine. Yeah, they connect up now, so that's okay. I do end up with a mess. It's me, that's hardly surprising, is it? But I wouldn't be looking to have any of these types of concave corners. If I was expanding the side of the base, I would be expanding the side of the base. You know, as I say, it's a growing square approach. Just because I learned when I did my first mega base, which I streamed, if you wanted to watch that. It's about 70 streams long. I tried to do outposts. It doesn't work. Basically, you're better just expanding your walls to incorporate as much of the resources as you need, and then you can just put a mining outpost, a mining depot, whatever you want to call it, in, and not have to worry about building walls around it and what have you, because it's just got walls. You know, you just do this and it's got walls around it. And also, you're automatically creating your train grid as you go. And if you've done a square, I don't happen to have any resources in, but if there's any, you know, if there's a patch in there, if you imagine this as a macro scale, enormous thing, a patch there, and you just connect it up to the rail as you need to, you know, because I've got my standard rail system, and this connects. One of the reasons I'm using it, or I'm, you know, doing these, even though you don't really need multiple trains going, but do that, and then move them, and we can even do those remotely. I wouldn't even have to go to them. Is what I'm thinking. I wouldn't have to run over here what I do instead. It might be tricky. We might need Spidertron to get involved, but what I do instead is I use this one. It means swapping between lots of blueprints, but I use this one, which has got roboports on it. Here we go. Say I want to do a mining outpost here. I've got a corner. Because these would just be single connections. In fact, let's take that down. Just be single connections. And then I can go into my standard rail, back into my standard rail. And we can if we can find it, use my standard station. Or one of them, one version of them. Like that. And you'd be loading it up. Where's me loaders? Loader 6, there we go. So we would have this. The things aren't quite connected. Oh, was it? I think the 141 trains, that might be an issue. Oh, that's unload, not load. There's load. There you go. So, might need to think about a 242 or something. But that's then loading it up. So I would have upgraded. There's upgraders in the books, but all of this is in the system. So is in everything, I think. So if you imagine these as stack inserters, fast inserters. Regular chests aren't, are they? I don't think so. Because stations are, signals are, radars are, power poles are, both types of signals. So these would be like stacks and, fasts when it was upgraded. Splitters are, belts are, undergrounds are, they're not on those, but undergrounds are. Miners are, so if this was a patch here, I've got mining things in this, I believe. Yeah, I say again, it has upgraders in it and stuff, but this is a version intended for building mine outposts. So I suppose speeds aren't in the system. Would I be fussed about that? I don't think I would at that stage. So I've got a mining prod that it sort of doesn't matter. But basically then, we could have multiple loads. All done. So the only thing that's missing, I think, because we've got miners, as I say. We've got the various power poles. I say, the idea of this whole... Where the heck is it? Well, let's just plop a new one in. So the complete one is this. I'll put one of these on so the flashing doesn't drive me mad. And it's got landfill. So if we're doing smaller landfill construction, we've already got that somewhere in the base, in the bus. So it will order that in. Roboports, miners, you see. Manufacturing things so that that's the next thing I need to do is the landfill builder. But there you go, stack inserters, fast inserters. It's got requesters. So one option, rather than... because it's got storage chests, is to use storage chests. I suppose that makes sense anyway, because maybe there's a version of all of this where I do bot mining. So the upgraded version of this probably needs to swap out for them and maybe have roboports on it. So it gives me the option of doing bot mining. Either or sort of thing. Bot mining. Bot mining. So this is where it becomes like a system, essentially. So there's an argument for having a, you know, a concave thing there, isn't there? Not sure what I think about that. So yeah, it's not a perfectly set up thing. It's like here, I'd have to work out a way of connecting these up before, because eventually the idea is, obviously this just goes, there's no thing here at all in a sense, and these siding ones, this just moves down around with the walls, so we wouldn't need these internal ones. Keep the roboports and just have mini networks all over the place. Maybe that's the one manual job I would do. Because this is what the sort of problem I encountered with fancy defences that I usually do, which is what these are. And this is a simpler version of a fancy defence. The ones I did before were even fancier. But if you're trying to expand your walls, you can leave them there, but they're in the way, basically. You can just leave the internal bits, but they're in the way. For anything else you might want to build, it also creates like choke points. You can't just stick in an extra junction or two. You can't really do this with these types of defences hanging around, because there's just too much to get rid of. And if you then deconstruct them, it's a lot of stuff, and you've got all these mines and stuff that you're going to want to recycle, really, which is a pain. But also, the act of deconstructing this is quite complicated, because obviously you've got the chests full, which I've got anyway. But then you've got all the brick, and what happens is you sort of deconstruct the main build, and then you've got to deconstruct all the brick as well. And it just takes yonks. It just takes ages. So I'll never think about whether I want a like a inner corner, just in case. Because I suppose if I'm expanding, a wall that's that long, and I do it as one continuous thing, it's going to take ages. So doing it in chunks might make more sense. And then I would need, because this isn't, I could just do a normal, do I need that really? What I need is probably a version of this that has a, do I even need to bother? Because if I literally just take this out, which we've got a deconstruction plan here for anyway, haven't we? I need to end. I'm blathering on again. Because if I literally just sort of deconstruct that, alright, we're missing a thing, but I deconstructed that in a bit of a haphazard way. Because if we had those still in, so if I just deconstructed it at the corner and left them, because you get the reverse effect with, say when you get that type of corner, a weight of biters. Well, here is an absolute kill zone because you've got double the volume of fire, so you don't actually need corners then. Because there's just so many guns and turrets and stuff. It's just death alley. Right. So I think the expandable defense wall defense side of things is done. At some point I'm going to have to test all of this properly, like without cheat mode on. But yeah, the bit I've not done is this, which this is just the mining thing. I don't need to do that bit. It's this bit that I need to do. And it's complicated because I don't really want the bots to fly all the way over. Is the point? That's the point of this. I don't want these chests to be things. So really, this needs to be loading into a train, which gets more complicated because this needs a thing. So what I probably need, is a special train that is literally just landfill, and literally just. I will stop in the end. That. And when he's assigned. So this probably needs a bit of fiddling with because. Would that still work there? Excuse me. I'm trying to think through it because if this station opened and I had this on a special order where it just brings up landfill and it goes to this same station, then I'm going to have... I mean, I suppose the other solution is to have a separate system where it is just the landfill that moves around. That probably makes more sense. Because I could use Spideys, that's the other option. We could do that system with Spideys, and then this train is just grabbing what landfill it can from the main base, and I could just introduce a... How would I control it though? Because if this is grabbing landfill from the bus, and the bus eventually just runs out of landfill production, or produces tiny amounts, and I try to send this somewhere that I want to do lots of landfilling, then I'm quickly going to eat through that. And I would need to have this go to a special thing. Yeah, that sounds like a real palaver. When I could just have landfill trains and landfill spidertrons that literally just move the landfill to where it needs filling in. So if I need to landfill this lake, I need a way of... I quite like that idea as a separate thing. So if I just want to landfill a lake, then you've got your Spideytrons that could maybe build the initial extension into the lake, and then there's a station that they build, maybe. Yeah, station they build. So perhaps the landfilltrons also have the bits to build this. I'm getting way carried away. Right, so, yes, let me pop up my schedule. If I find it. There we go. So that's this weekend schedule. Tomorrow's stream will be Stardew Valley again. I kind of realised why I was so keen to do Stardew Valley, and it was because I was missing playing it. Just me, and I've actually been playing it myself, so I think I've sort of got over the hump of not having played it and explored all the new content, because he added all that stuff with Fern Island and I'd only done about half of it, so I've done a lot of that in my own time this week, so I don't feel the need to press on with that series as such. It's getting loads of views on YouTube. Well, loads. For me, loads of views on YouTube. So if you're seeing this and you're like, oh no, I like watching the Stardew Valley videos, and you're on YouTube, because no one watches it on Twitch, but comment below and let me know, and maybe I'll do some streams on it as a separate thing, and maybe just do them on YouTube. But yes, this week and next week are going to basically be the same. Tomorrow's stream is slightly later because of the Grand Prix. but there's no Grand Prix next weekend. The weekend after that is when I'm going to the gaming conference, at IGN West, and so I will not be streaming that weekend. When I come back the weekend after is when I will switch up my schedule. So I will still do the Friday Facts, I think. I'm not sold on it as an approach for doing that. It feels very weird talking to no one about it. And then when people do interact, it sort of breaks up the flow of reading it out, which is fine as a stream, but it doesn't help with editing the videos down. So I think I might start just recording those first thing in the morning, maybe, and then I can just edit them to my heart's content, and I can maybe chop in any interesting chats later on in the stream. What was I saying? So yes, it will be the same next week though. We will be doing the aesthetic series, rounding that off as well, and which means I need to work on the oil so that we can round it off. I've just realised that, and we start you next week, but starting at 3, and then when we come back, I'm planning on starting the Angels playthrough on the Saturday Factorio stream. And then starting Tectonica on the Sunday, just to see what that's all about. Excuse me, Snap dropped a video about Satisfactory. The performance improvements have hugely helped my machine. I can play it now. It was impossible before. But they're focusing on getting the release stable rather than the new features. So I may not pick that up until they've finally decided they're happy with version 0.8, which I think is going to be in the new year anyway. If I don't like Tectonica or I get bored of it or what have you, then I'll probably just do double Factorio streams, because in October I'm going to another game conference. So I will probably, if I'm not happy with Tectonica, switch it out then, and then it will probably be set till Christmas for whatever I do. So yeah, so that's all the schedule. Is there anything else? Oh, I guess the other thing, obviously, there's my YouTube channel. If you're watching on Twitch and you were interested in catching up on any of the VODs on any of these series, they're all archived on my YouTube channel. Say loads of Factorio, Megabase, No Spoon Run, all sorts of stuff there. Satisfactory series, 3 DSPs. I'd love to pick that up again if they do the combat update. But yes, they're all on my YouTube if you wanted to catch up with them there, as well as the edited version of the Friday Facts chat. So yes, if you have been watching, I hope you've enjoyed it and you might consider coming back for another one. I've been Trismegistus. This has been Factorio. Thanks for watching. Cheers.